Born on 5th January 1964 in Cleveland, Ohio, and raised in Detroit, Michigan, Danny's early life was filled with two of America's finest traditions: rock and roll and muscle cars.
A lot of people don't even know that I do music, and interestingly enough, growing up, there were three things that were really crucial in my life, and that was music, motorcycles, and cars.
These two loves defined him years before television cameras ever started rolling. However, his growing success was met by the grueling, harsh realities of celebrity lifestyle, causing a really sad and sudden turn of events that nearly tore him apart. Stick around as we unravel the very reason behind this sudden change of fortune. Born into the rhythm, how Danny's childhood was drenched in legendary sounds. Danny grew up surrounded by music, courtesy largely of his father, Danny Koker Sr. The older Koker was a classically trained baritone who sang with the Cathedral Quartet and appeared on TV, courtesy of the Christian Broadcasting Network. But he wasn't all about harmonies and hymns. He also had associations with some of the musical legends, with Johnny Cash and Mahalia Jackson as his contemporaries. With that kind of exposure, it was pretty much inevitable that Danny Jr. would become an instrumentalist. Danny was exposed to live performances and recording sessions right from a young age. He played the guitar and the piano and was a good singer in his own capacity. His residence was not just a home, but a full-fledged music studio. From grit to gears, the city that molded Danny's mechanical genius. Whereas music was the stuff of his emotional and creative self, the Motor City had its own influence. Having grown up at the epicenter of America's auto industry in Detroit, Danny was surrounded by the roar of engines and the smell of gas. The automobile was not just a vehicle there, it was a lifestyle. His family members, such as uncles and older cousins, all worked in car restoration and mechanics. Danny got interested, helping out in the garage from a very young age. By the time he was a teenager, he was already restoring cars and motorcycles. While most kids his age were still fumbling with starter kits, Danny was tearing down engines and rebuilding them from scratch. He wasn't learning from books or school. He was learning by doing, side by side with family members who treated cars as art. The hidden rock star. What TV never told you about Danny Koker? Danny Koker is most famously known as the bandana-clad car guru of History Channel's popular long-running series, Counting Cars. What, however, people do not know is that music was not as much of a pastime to him. It was his very first love, and maybe his sincerest passion. Before he ever got on television or made Count's Customs a household name, music consumed Danny, body and soul. And even now, with his TV years silenced and his auto empire revving at top speed, it's music that continues to fuel his creative flame. Raised in a family of musicians, Danny's boyhood was saturated with the beat and harmony of gospel, soul, and classic rock. His father, Danny Koker Sr., was not just an entertainer. He was a professional musician who had traveled with singers such as Mahalia Jackson and the Cathedral Quartet. This was the basis upon which Danny's own strong musical personality was formed. He was a child music instructor, studying to play piano, guitar, and drums. It wasn't something he just did for fun. It's what he was. While the majority of his fans have come to know Danny as a car restorer, his group, Counts 77, has played a central role in his life in the background. Counts 77 is a nod to the old-school sound of 1970s hard rock, just like Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, and Led Zeppelin. Based in Las Vegas, the band consists of professional musicians who have a passion for old-school rock similar to Koker's. Danny doesn't lend his name to the band just for branding purposes. He is a lead vocalist and co-lyricist of their songs, and he has an active role in performance and production. Count 77 released their self-titled debut album in 2014 under the Shrapnel Records banner, and it has a lineup of accomplished rock and metal players. The single didn't chart on Billboard, but it earned a dedicated fan base, especially among fans of the Counting Cars show who were caught off guard and impressed by Koker's vocals. His voice has a smoky, retro grit that brings comparisons to legends of the style. Tunes like Summer of '77 and Ride With Me capture not just a musical style, but a throwback lifestyle that Danny depicts in the attire he sports down to his tricked-out rides. In between gigs, the group has performed in hundreds of live shows throughout the country, especially in Las Vegas, where they are also regular performers at Count's Vampad, a rock club Danny and Corey co-founded. These live performances became the beat of Koker's life off the TV. The performances were more personal, the crowds intimate, but the atmosphere was genuine. There is no script, no retakes, just honest energy and audience interaction. It's a part of Danny that most never got to experience while he was on television. Even through the height of Counting Cars, Koker made time for music. There might be the odd cut into a shot of the band, or the occasional bit of performing, but it was never the focus. That was intentional. Music wasn't part of his brand to Danny. It was something personal. And perhaps that is why it has been so central to him. Through TV stardom and business acumen, music has always been how he stayed true to himself. As quietly as the show went away, Danny has used music more than ever to express himself. He's composed new material with Counts 77 and hinted in interviews at exploring other rock and blues genres. Rumor among fans of a second album is circulating, and although no official date has been scheduled, the band's social media postings suggest they're not finished yet. In more than one sense, music has been a sanctuary for Koker, the one place where he doesn't have to worry about ratings, contracts, and what others perceive. That's where he is free to simply be Danny. And for a man whose life has been so well documented, speculated about, and publicized, that creative safe space is invaluable. The ordinary man may know him as a grease-stained car whisperer, but in the shadows of a rock club under the dark lights, microphone in hand, band at his back, Danny Koker reveals the other half of his soul. Music is not a pastime for him. It's a way of life. And while the dust settles on his TV fame, increasingly, people are waking up to the fact that beneath the wrench and the leather lies a rock and roll soul that never faded. Where metal meets melody, Danny's passion collides in explosive ways. What was unique about Danny was how easily his two passions blended together. He never thought of them as being worlds apart. To him, building a custom motorcycle or hot rod was like composing a piece of music. It took vision, patience, and an eye for detail. That mindset led him to adulthood. Danny moved to Las Vegas in the 1990s and began establishing himself as a custom car builder. He started Count's Customs, a restoration and custom car building shop specializing in antique automobiles. At the same time, he continued to play through membership in his band Counts 77, where he sang lead vocals and played rhythm guitar. Flashy Vegas was the perfect venue for him to play at. How the garage guru accidentally became a reality TV star. Danny's route to TV was not intended, but it was inevitable. His people skills, his extensive knowledge of cars, and his genuine love for what he did made him a huge attraction. He first appeared as a guest on the History Channel's Pawn Stars, where he would periodically stop by to appraise or restore classic cars. People were drawn to his blunt candor and passionate delivery. Before long, producers became aware that he could carry a show himself. Counting Cars debuted in 2012 as a spin-off of Pawn Stars. The show featured Count's customs and followed Danny and his crew as they restored and personalized vehicles from Mustangs to choppers. Unlike other reality TV stars who were acting, Danny was just being himself. And that authenticity, along with his extensive know-how, made the show an instant hit. Danny's transformation from a Cleveland kid who played music and a Detroit adolescent who fixed machines to a Las Vegas television icon is one of the ways in which passion, when nurtured in the right setting, can be an enduring vocation. His father's music, his own mechanical skills, and his tireless work ethic all converged to create a persona which is now familiar to millions. Behind the shine, the pain and pressure you never saw on screen. Counting Cars may have seemed like smooth sailing on the surface, with a team of motorheads hot-rodding cars at a Las Vegas garage, led by the perpetually electric Danny Koker. But beneath all the gleaming chrome and rumbling engines, there were some bumpy stretches on the road. The show, on the air more than a decade after its 2012 premiere, was as much about personalities as it was about vehicles. And occasionally, those personalities clashed, both on and off camera. As the show gained popularity, so did the attention. Count's Customs was not just a tourist attraction, TV location, and functioning garage, but it was a source of attention too. Balancing all that wasn't easy. The more successful the business grew, the more Danny was observed, and this resulted in deeper scrutiny of his work and personal life. Betrayal in the garage, the embezzlement scandal that shook Count's Custom. Count's Customs made headlines in 2014 for a lawsuit that put its reputation in the dark. The company sued its ex-employee, Joseph Frontiera, who happened to be a guest on the show. Frontiera was charged with embezzling over $75,000 from the firm in the complaint. In the suit, it claimed he used the money to buy personal things, like airplane tickets and a down payment on a Range Rover. And also, he was charged with forging Danny's name on checks. The reaction was immediate and out of hand. Fans could not believe that a member of the inner circle whom they had trusted was implicated in something so severe. Danny himself never spoke much about it to the public, but the insiders explained that the betrayal really hurt. Regardless of the case being civil, the allegations made everyone question how secure things really were backstage. There were also other legal issues that came with the business, including allegations of unpaid bills and disputed car sales. While some of them did not turn up in the mainstream press, they painted the picture of a store that made it big on TV but might be struggling otherwise. Dark rumors and vanishing acts. What was happening off-camera? Though never confirmed by Danny himself, drug use rumors began to circulate in online forums and celebrity websites towards the end of the run of the show. Rumors were not targeted at Danny himself, but hinted at tensions between crew and actors, possibly resulting from off-camera partying and personal problems. A few now former co-workers, interviewed behind the scenes, spoke of crazy energy on the set and intimated that the pressures of fame may have driven some of the actors to self-medicate. Though these allegations never panned out in court or on the network, they did turn heads, particularly when the cast members were suddenly seen less and less on the show with no explanation. Changes in behavior and lack of appearances fueled speculation that not everything was as neat and tidy as portrayed on screen. Still, through all these woes, Danny kept the boat afloat for years. He remained tight-lipped about behind-the-scenes problems and turned his energies to his loves, creating jaw-dropping contraptions and music. But even die-hard supporters could tell that under the bandanas and bluster, things were getting tough on the road. Gone without a goodbye. The silent death of Counting Cars. Counting Cars lasted longer than a decade, delivering 10 full seasons of customized creations, rock and roll swagger, and the familiar face of Danny Koker. And then, poof, it was over. No series finale, no goodbye show, no word from the History Channel. Everybody was stunned. It was on reruns one day and gone the next, as if the network just pulled the plug on it and hoped no one would notice. Sudden disappearance for a show that had become so much of a standard for auto-reality programming was unsettling. The last season aired in 2021, and while reruns and syndication ensured the show was still on everyone's radar, there had been no renewal announcement. Nor was there any public declaration by Danny or History Channel to confirm cancellation. While weeks became months and fresh episodes became conspicuous in their absence, fans realized that Counting Cars might be gone. But why, many asked. Some thought it was simply a case of ratings burnout. After 10 years, maybe the formula had been exhausted, and the network quietly wrapped things up. Others thought it was something more behind the scenes, which could be personal and legal. Whispers in the wind. Theories that just won't die. One of the most well-circulated theories was regarding the earlier embezzlement lawsuit against former staffer Joseph Frontiera. Though that lawsuit happened years prior, it seemingly left a lingering tension and distrust among the crew. Fans speculated that morale behind the scenes may have never totally recovered if there were other similar events the public had no idea about. There were even whispers that Danny would rather escape the limelight of TV stardom. Some noted that he was more vigilant in later seasons. Others hypothesized that pressures from production stripped him away from his real passions of fine-tuning motorcars and jamming with his band, Counts 77. And then there were the rumors of drug use, burnout, and crew conflicts. None confirmed to be true, but added to the cloud of suspicion. With no official explanation, fans had to speculate in their minds. Even more puzzling was Danny's silence following the end of the show. No big goodbye, no social media thank you for a decade of love from fans. This only fed more rumors, with many wondering, was he resentful of the way it had ended? Was he gagged by law in some non-disclosure agreement? Or had he just had enough? The Fame Trap. How celebrity status nearly consumed Danny. Along the way, Danny Koker discovered something that many reality TV stars find out the hard way. First, it's exhilarating. The sense of privacy diminishes, and the fans fawn over you like royalty. But when the cameras go away, the same fame alienates, suffocates, and exposes. Danny built his fame on authenticity. He was never trying to be a Hollywood icon, just a guy who loved cars and rock and roll. But the more he came into the public eye, the more he had to deal with things outside his control, including gossip, litigation, network politics, and public criticism. When Counting Cars ended its run, he had already seen the high and the low of being a public persona. And to this day, no one really knows why the show ended. The question still lingers, and the fans continue to ask themselves, what really happened to Counting Cars? Through scandal and silence, the woman who stood beside Danny. Amidst all the drama, including lawsuits, show cancellation, and constant gossip, one constant figure in Danny Koker's life has been his wife, Koker. The couple has remained refreshingly low-key, especially given their years of reality television fame, But insiders and diehards know that Corey has been Danny's pillar of strength through it all. They not only survived the chaos together, they emerged stronger, re-established their lives, and held on to what counts most: one another, their entrepreneurial ventures as a couple, and music and artistic fervor. Koker is not just the wife of a reality TV personality. She is a woman herself, with a music industry background, having served as a talent promoter and manager. That common love of rock and roll was what created much of the foundation for their relationship. Though Danny is the one who typically receives all the public accolades for counting cars and counts customs, Corey has been working hard behind the scenes, working to help manage their bar and live music club, Count's Vamped Rock Bar and Grill, and keeping up with Danny's band, Count's 77. When the storm rolled in, from embezzlement scandal to silent folding of the show, Corey remained. They did not give public interviews or cater to the cameras. Instead, they pulled inward and focused on that which was within their control. One of their favorite projects is the Count's Customs Museum in Las Vegas, which they still operate. The museum displays a phenomenal collection of restored vintage vehicles and custom motorcycles, many of which were featured on the show. For hardcore fans, it's not just about tourist tourism. It's a physical testament to the sweat and tears Danny and his crew poured into the project. The museum has been open to the public and even gains new clients daily, proving that the Koker brand is far from dead in the business of custom automobiles. For Danny, when the cameras weren't capturing him, music was solace and therapy. Well before counting cars, he was playing in bands and playing multiple instruments. As the show closed, he fell back into that part of his existence with increased dedication. His band, Count 77, continued to play, taking on fans who liked not just his knowledge of cars, but his passion for vintage hard rock. Music served as an emotional outlet, a way for him to find himself without the burden of a television crew or public image to maintain. Although Counting Cars might have drawn its curtains, Danny Koker did not disappear. If anything, the mystery surrounding him has only fueled more fan interest. Social media posts continue to fuel speculation on what he will do next. There's optimism that he'll revive Counting Cars, and rumors that he'll drop a new music album or even begin a car and rock culture podcast. Whatever is to come, one thing is sure: Danny Koker has a loyal fan base anticipating his next move to whatever's next for the Count. That's it for this video, and we will see you in the next one.